In this episode, we consider what happens when you have to go back to the drawing board and reinvent your culture and processes. My guest this time is Dr. Phillip Meade, co-founder of Gallaher Edge, and he's also Associate Director, Spaceport Integration and Services at NASA Kennedy Space Center. After the 2003 Space Shuttle Columbia explosion, Dr. Meade was tasked with revitalizing the culture at NASA. Listen as Dr. Meade talks through why an effective culture is absolutely key to accomplishing overall business goals. Phillip also offers tips for business leaders looking to explore culture as a concept, including what are the results for a business of having a high-performing company culture, 3 habits of excellent leaders, and what it takes to be an employee at NASA, beyond a willingness to be shot into space, of course. Phillip, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Bill. I'm very happy to be here.
Okay, so let's set the context then beyond the wee introduction there. Following the Space Shuttle Columbia accident, Dr. Meade was asked by center leadership to develop a plan for the organizational and cultural changes necessary for return to flight at Kennedy Space Center. Serving as the Kennedy Space Center change manager, Dr. Meade employed some pretty new techniques to align organizational systems, processes, and leadership behaviors to drive sustainable change. Dr. Meade developed the strategy and led the implementation of an integrated and comprehensive framework for change management there. And under his leadership, the organizational and cultural changes instituted at the Kennedy Space Center were recognized as the benchmark for the entire agency. I mean, this is so impressive. Phillip, can you just start by telling us a bit more?
Well, after the Columbia accident, there was a pretty involved investigation to determine exactly what caused this to happen. Because obviously, this is not the type of thing that we, as an agency or as a country, wanted to have happening. Losing 7 astronauts and a space shuttle, and so at the conclusion of this exhaustive assessment of the accident and its root cause analysis, the Accident Investigation Board concluded that the culture and organization of NASA had as much to do with the accident as the foam that fell off the external tank and hit the shuttle. And so as a result of this, the space shuttle fleet was grounded for close to 2 years, and we were told that we weren't allowed to launch again until we fixed those organizational and cultural changes which had led to the accident in the first place. And so that's when I was asked to lead those changes and to figure out how we could answer that and ensure that we didn't lose another shuttle, which I'm happy to say we didn't.
No, and beyond that, you're buddying up with SpaceX, and we're going back to the moon, and we're going to be going to Mars, and I'm very, very excited that I'm going to get to see all of this in my lifetime. I'm smiling from ear to ear right now just thinking about it, listeners, because I'm a massive space nerd. Hey, Phillip, it's pretty obvious, I guess, that everybody wants a high performing company culture, but what are some examples of the results for a business of having such a high performing culture? What are some of those tangible results that you could point to?
So let me first say that when we talk about organizational culture and what we're trying to achieve with it, we talk about it as being an effective culture. And an effective culture really has 3 characteristics to it. The first one is that it produces a high level of employee engagement. The second is that it really positively impacts the quality of the lives of the employees. And then the third one, which is hugely important, is it's a significant driver of organizational performance and market success. And so when we talk about what are some of the outcomes, the first 2 is just having an organization that is fun to work in, where people enjoy what they're doing, where it feels good to come into the office, and the unnecessary conflict and strife is not there to slow things down. When we talk about the third one, about those business results, though, it's just amazing what that translates into from a bottom line perspective. Well, one study that is really amazing was done by John Cotter, and it's one of the largest ones that was ever done. He looked at 207 companies across 22 industries over an 11-year period of time. And he basically categorized those companies into either ones with effective cultures or ineffective cultures. And over that 11 period of time, the net income increase for an ineffective culture was only 1% compared to 756% increase in net income for an effective culture. So that's a difference of 755% in net income increase between ineffective versus effective cultures. The other factors he found was that the stock price increased by more than 827% for an effective culture versus an ineffective culture, and the revenue actually increased by 516%. So it has a very dramatic impact on the bottom line and on a company's ability to really execute its strategy. And
now, in addition to this conversation we're having now, I've also interviewed you for the HR Chat podcast, and on the HR Chat show, you mentioned the challenges at NASA are somewhat unique, and you used an example of we're trying to combat the fact that people don't want to take their vacation days. That's a pretty unique situation to be in, I expect, and that's because NASA is the best of the best. Philip, beyond the willingness to be shot into space, what else does NASA look for in its employees?
Well, one of the things that we really look for is a willingness to learn and grow, and we also look for individuals who are extremely good at working with teams, because at NASA the challenges that we face and the missions that we execute can't be done by a single individual. They are the work of teams, and so when we bring someone into NASA, we want someone who has the ability to be an effective team member. And so a lot of that comes down to their individual capacity for self-awareness and the ability to realize the impact that they're having on their teammates through their behavior, as well as a high degree of self-accountability where they are dependable and will actually follow through on the commitments they make and help to get things done. So we have a highly reliable and highly functioning team that we can point and ask to go and do the near impossible.
So in addition to Philip's role at NASA, he's also a consultant at Gallaher, and you teach and you consult on this stuff. You're an expert. So in your expert opinion, what are the top 3 habits of excellent leaders?
So for me, when I talk about a leader, it's not about doing, it's about working through others. And so an excellent leader is someone who has the ability to take people to a place that they wouldn't naturally have gone on their own, and to accomplish greater feats through other people, and that requires that individuals willingly follow you as a leader. Anything else is coercion or some form of transaction where you're just buying their allegiance. But a true leader has willing followers, and followers won't willingly follow you without trust. And so that trust, that you both have the character that they can trust that you are going to do what you say you're going to do, and that you have their best intent at heart, as well as the competence to do what you say you're going to do and take them on a successful journey. Those are the keys to getting that willing followership. And so some of the habits associated with that for building trust, first and foremost, is a good leader is a good listener. It's not about telling other people all that you know or telling other people what to do. It's about listening to them, listening to what they bring to the table, and learning how you can integrate them and use them for their strengths to accomplish great things. And that listening also is a key factor in building trust. Another factor is another habit is the willingness to be vulnerable, to admit that you don't know everything, and to show that vulnerability to employees so that they realize that you're human, and this builds that trust as well. And then the last thing I believe is a willingness to delegate, because again, if you as the leader are doing everything, or you as the leader are dictating how everything should be done, you're not truly getting that multiplier effect of a leader, where you're working through people and accomplishing more than what you can accomplish on your own. So I would say those are the three habits that I would point to.
By the way, if you were my leader, I'd shut up and listen, because you've got a lot of interesting things to say. Right, now then, in every interview we do on this podcast, we like to ask the following question of our guests. So it's a bit more big blue sky. It's not necessarily, although I suspect it is related to what we've spoken about so far today. And I'm going to put you on a time limit. I'm going to challenge you to answer in 90 seconds or less, Philip. From a culture and people processes perspective, what does a high performing company mean, or organization mean to you?
Bill, I'm going to go back to the three aspects of an effective culture that I spoke on earlier. I think that an effective organization and an effective culture has employees who are highly engaged. They enjoy what they do. They are happy to come to work. They're giving beyond their minimum that's required in order for them to keep their job. They're donating that discretionary efforts because they love what they do. They love who they work with, and there's a synergy that you get from that when you put people together on teams who have that kind of engagement and enthusiasm about work. I believe it positively impacts the quality of people's lives, because we spend so much time at work. It's such a major part of what we do, and it has the ability to fulfill us in ways when we are pursuing a purpose that we believe in, and a company that we believe in, and are working with people that we respect and trust. It really creates a positive impact on our lives, and studies have shown that it literally has a positive health impact, and we are healthier and happier individuals when we work in that. And then finally, I believe that it is absolutely a significant driver of organizational performance, that when organizations have cultures that are aligned with their strategy and are truly effective, that as we saw from the Cotter study, it has the ability to really ramp things up. It's similar to pushing a child on a swing, and when you're pushing in the right time and at the right direction, it just naturally helps the child to move higher and higher without a whole lot of extra effort going into it. And that's what an effective culture feels like as an organization.
Wonderful. And finally, for today, how can we learn more? How can we learn more about you? How can our listeners connect with you? And also, how can they learn more about Gallaher?
So the easiest way to learn more is to go to our website, www.gallaheredge.com. You can connect with us through the website there. We have an online video platform that you can sign up for, where you can learn more about the concepts that I talked about today, and the tools and processes that we use to transform organizational culture. And you can look for our book, which will be coming out soon, which is The Missing Links, and that should be available this September. So be on the lookout for that, and should be coming to Amazon or a bookstore near you very soon.
Well, I don't think we've really spoken about your book yet, so I'll tell you what. Let's just take another 30 seconds here. The Missing Link. Can you, in 30 seconds, just summarize what people can expect if they go to Amazon and get a copy?
Sure. So The Missing Links describes our model for culture change, where we based on the work that we did with NASA at the Kennedy Space Center, we identified that culture is actually an emergent property of an organization, and if you want to intentionally design it or create it, the way to do that is to focus on the links between the human beings in your organization to help them connect in ways that produce these emergent properties of maturity, diversity, community, and unity. And when those properties emerge in an organization in a way that aligns with your strategy, you have a truly high-performing culture. And so we wrote the book, The Missing Links, Launching a High-Performing Company Culture, to describe that model and that process, as well as give a little bit of background and insight into how we came about creating it through the work we did.
Wonderful. So that's The Missing Links, and it's on some obscure website called Amazon. I think it's how you pronounce it, listeners. Check it out there. Dr. Phillip Meade, I've had a lot of fun with you today. Thank you very much for joining me on this podcast.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate you having me on.
And listeners, we'll chat to you again soon. This podcast is supported by Fidello Inc., a consulting firm specializing in improving human performance. Through their products and services, Fidello helps clients design, develop, and implement strategic integrated human resource processes and systems. Learn more at fidello.com. That's FIDELLO.com.